Hi, my name is Tom Bolsh, commonly known as Prime Train, and I'm the first person in history to do an AFL footy tour around the world. Started playing footy very early on in a small town called Kojonup. Kojunup's in Western Australia. It's a small farming town, and it's got a population of about 2,000 people. So my fondest memories of football were kicking the footy in the backyard with a PVC post on the farm. You got the sheep barring away, no more than 20 metres away from you while you're kicking goals and commentating to yourself. So yeah, that's probably my fondest memories of football. And for me, it all started at the Kojonup Cougars, a small country football club, and that always reminds me kind of where I come from, and while I always try to give back as much as I possibly can to these country and local footy communities. I started social media back in 2021 to grow my personal training business, and it was initially just posting videos and photos of me working out to try and get more clients and try and get more sign-ups to the programs and the nutrition plans that I was selling. And eventually, after posting this for around a year or two, people kept asking me, what are you training for? And my response was, well, this is what I train for. I train for footy or AFL, and this is what I do to try and help me maximize my performance and reduce my injury risk. And then I started posting a few highlights of my games, and they got a crazy amount of views. And I thought, well, maybe there's a little bit of a niche here that isn't just working out the gym, which a lot of other people do, and I can really niche out into footy. And that's kind of what I started doing. And all of a sudden, I've got over 400,000 followers, which is wild to me. And I'm fortunate enough to go around and travel around Australia and the world playing Aussie rules. Favourite goal I kicked all year? This is a tough one, but I think that my favourite... Oh, God, this is a hard question. There was two that really stand out for me. The one at Penton Hill in round 3, where I kicked a snap in the last quarter to put us up against Northcote. And then the second one was against Kalgoorlie. Was in Kalgoorlie. Against Boulder, and I was playing for the Mines Rovers Diorites, and there was only a couple of seconds really to go, and it was pretty much just to seal the win for us in front of all of the Boulder fans, which I was getting a lot of advice from that day. So that was good to shut them up and finish off the win for us and seal the 4 points. One of the biggest challenges that I faced when playing footy globally was not what most people would think. Most people would think, meeting all these people and just the non-stop, kind of talking and always being on. That part I actually don't mind. It's more the stress every week of having to perform to a specific level, because, they're paying for flights and accommodation, everything to get you over. So you've got to play a certain way. And the stress of also keeping your body at 100% and not getting injured or anything. Unfortunately, we missed the final game of the footy tour because I did my hamstring. But 12 weeks non-stop, traveling, talking, socializing, playing footy, training, meeting new people. It was pretty full on. So I was extremely drained by the end of week 12. But I did enjoy every second of it, to be honest. The main thing I learned playing footy around the world was that no matter how far you go, it doesn't matter if it's overseas or to a country town, there's always the same things involved in a football club. There's always the same people, the same issues. A lot of football clubs struggle for funding and financial support, which they hope to get off sponsors and donors or players, and a lot of the time they just don't get enough. And a lot of these football clubs now around Australia are folding because they don't have that financial backing or that financial support. So it's really sad to see a lot of football clubs vanish off the face of the earth that have had great histories for over hundreds of years, and now they don't exist anymore. So it was sad kind of seeing the deterioration of some of the football clubs, because our role this year was to help as many communities and clubs as possible, and there are some clubs that unfortunately just they might only have 100 or 200 people in the town, so it's slim pickings, I guess, from a player's point of view. So it's really unfortunate, but I guess everything does take its natural end eventually. And that was something that you don't really understand until you go to these places, that, without the players and without the backing, without the people involved, if they don't have a sponsor or a donor, then these clubs just aren't going to exist for much longer. The biggest struggle that football clubs have is financial. They don't have enough money. They don't have enough people that are funding them. The AFL doesn't really fund them that much. The AFL focuses on funding the AFL, and that's fine because the AFL brings in a lot of money and it's a big business. But you've got to remember that these grassroots places are where juniors start. It's where the AFL players start. They've got to start somewhere. So putting more, money into grassroots footy and these country clubs and everyone that's evolved around that in Australia and the world as well. It was crazy, Australia, we are lucky to have sponsors and donors and people that look after these local clubs to keep them running. But then when you go overseas, there's also just no funding. They're playing on parks with, PVC goalposts. It's not, it's not the facilities that you have and are lucky to have here in Australia. So I think that's a big challenge that people face is the financials. Another challenge that a lot of football clubs have, especially these country football clubs that have, 200 or 300 population in the town, they struggle to get players. They're getting people who are 45, 46, 48, 50 to line up and play in their football games, in the ones and in the twos. So these people are not necessarily, at the right age anymore, and they're really just there to make up the numbers. And unfortunately, the players just aren't there because they don't have the pool of people to select from, like city football clubs and big country towns do have. So that's unfortunate. But like I said, that sometimes things just reach their natural end. And, all these local and country football clubs used to have heaps of population in the town. They might have 2,000, 3,000, which is easy to field a team. But once big farms and big corporations buy up all the land and buy up all the farms, the people move away. They move away and they move to the cities and they move to the bigger towns. So these country towns do get smaller and smaller and smaller. And what used to have a pub, a grocery store, a pharmacy, now just has a pub, and that's kind of all it has, maybe a gas station. So these local football clubs really do struggle with the amount of players that they can get.